Today, we get a sneak peek behind the curtains with the team from Amazon that has developed new tools for AI-generated A+ content. Plus, we're going to get a recap of all the main Amazon Accelerate releases with the host of the Amazon This is Small Business podcast. How cool is that? Pretty cool, I think. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Serious Sellers Podcast by Helium 10. I am your host, Bradley Sutton, and this is the show that is a special Amazon Accelerate edition that we recorded in Seattle with Amazonians. We've got kind of two episodes in one. We have with us on the show someone who is responsible for generating a lot of the AI-generated A+ content tools that was released at Amazon Accelerate. We're going to get a little bit of a sneak peek as to how exactly those work and how Amazon sellers can use it. And we're also going to recap a lot of the main events that happened at Amazon Accelerate with Andrea, who is the host of the Amazon podcast, This is Small Business. So let's go ahead and hop into this episode.
This is the third Accelerate I've been to, Accelerate 2024. I feel like every year, just like they up the ante, like it gets better and better every year. And there's a lot that happened this year. I'm like in my mind trying to like make the list of like, where do we even start? So much happened. What was the experience like for you?
This is only my second. So you have one more under the belt than me. But when anybody ever asks me like, hey, is it worth it to go to Accelerate? Just from even before my one experience, I was like, if you are going to go to one event in the year, it's got to be Accelerate. Like, first of all, there's not any other event where there's going to be 4,000 other brands and sellers all in one place that you can network with. In my opinion, whatever event you're talking about, networking is so crucial. And then this is the place to also get like sneak peeks at all this new stuff that Amazon has been working on that, if you weren't here, you might have to be, waiting weeks from now to like see these things rolled out. But those who are here were able to hear it directly from Amazon executives. So a lot of new exciting announcements.
Yeah, in the general session stages, and then we had breakout rooms. And what I also think is exciting is that there are account services here too. So sellers are able to come here and talk through those, like what their journeys and what their experiences, and get one-on-one with account service teams, which I know that a lot of sellers love that about Accelerate, and it makes a huge difference to be able to do these things in person.
I totally forgot about that. That was like the third reason that I tell everybody, because you don't know how many brands and sellers I talk to that have told me, I've had this one issue for like months. A couple of people said, I've been working with this one issue for a couple years, and they had like a 15-minute session with somebody in I think it's called Seller Cafe, right? And they got it fixed, and they're like so happy of that. So like this is the only place where you can have that kind of opportunity, where you can sit right in front of a specialist who can help you with your issue. So again, guys, if you weren't here this year, make sure to make 2025 the year you come.
Next year, and I'm sure it's going to be bigger and better, and there's going to be more things. And I want to talk about what we heard a lot. Me being walking around, one of the words, I don't know if it's a word, but acronyms that I heard a lot was AI.
Yes.
All over. AI. Anything that stood out to you on that?
There was 5 different AI announcements, and a lot of them I think a lot of sellers are excited about. I think just in general, even before this conference, I was looking on LinkedIn at people saying, hey, put your predictions here of what might happen. And I think the predominant thing was like AI is going to be, yeah. A lot of people were talking about AI. And so here at the conference, one of the things that was announced was this. I love how Amazon does these like little code names, secret code names. Yeah. So this one was Project Amelia. I know we were trying to like think about what might be the origin of that. I'm not sure what the origin of that is, but basically what Project Amelia is like a generative AI for sellers and brands, where in Seller Central, you can just start, being able to look at information like, hey, show me where my sales are going down on which products. And then, it's not like I can't do that now, but I would have to go to different dashboards or use like Helium 10 and know where those dashboards and filters are. But now you can just have a conversation and then get that information instantly. So that was one cool AI announcement. Another cool one that I think, got some reaction from the crowd was this new video generation. So last year at Accelerate, the team, did you see the team one?
Yes, they were amazing. They were, it's going to change the game for a lot of
like they take a picture, they showed a picture of like a teacup.
The ocean one with the pebbles.
The ocean one, and then the teacup had like steam coming out, but then somehow it just became a video now, and it just like totally changes the vibe. And so the main use case I think that they were talking about was for sponsored brand, Amazon advertising campaigns and things like that, where you need something a little bit more dynamic. But I think looking ahead to the future, like maybe you could even start using this tool to even make videos that actually just go in the regular carousel of your listing. So a lot of sellers were really excited about that as well.
What I also love is that they look amazing in the general stage when they're presenting all of this. But what I wanted to say about that also is I think it makes it more budget friendly as well. For small businesses that are just starting out, this is such an important tool that is going to make all the difference so that they're able to stand out and also utilize the analytics, which, by the way, is something else I want to ask you about, what you heard about big changes with analytics and Amazon products, because what I've been hearing a lot from sellers is that you need to really sift through that data. You need to do all the A/B testing, like go all in and really understand what's happening. But before you can do that, you need the images, you need the imagery, you need the product to A/B test. And a lot of the times there isn't the budget to be able to do that. So you're kind of like guessing, like, where do I start? Where could I do paid ads? Do I put my money here? Do I invest my money there? So now that we have those tools available, I think it'll be even easier for sellers to be able to do all of this testing and run through that data and do all of the analytics to be able to know what's working for them or not.
Yeah, what you just mentioned is something I think that's very important. It's not like video is some new medium that we never knew about.
Yeah.
Like every Amazon seller understands that video is better than still imagery. But the reason why you don't see it so as much like in every single listing is because it costs a lot of money to have an HD video of a steaming cup of coffee on some wild beach that looks like it was shot in 4K and amazing lighting.
Can you imagine how many takes?
Right.
Like getting the ocean to...
Zero takes for me because I couldn't do it. Like I don't have that kind of equipment to be able to do that. I would have to hire someone for like, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. And you know what? Well, that $2,000 we probably need for products and other things. And so it's not a matter of good video versus bad video. It's a matter of video or no video. And for many sellers, it's no video, but now this is going to change it. And then you mentioned the analytics too. I think that was a lot of good releases on analytics, especially the customer loyalty dashboard is something that was announced where, before it's just like, all right, I've got these, 1,000 customers, they bought 2,000 products. That's the limit of my knowledge. Now, Amazon has made these kind of like groups of customers, like, hey, who are your top tier customers? Who are the ones that have added your product to the shopping cart but never actually purchased? Who haven't purchased in a long time? Who has ordered for? Like now there's all these audiences, and then I can tailor make like special like marketing campaigns for each of them.
That's going to make a huge difference because that way you're able to tailor campaigns specific to them and have so much more information on your customer, which I think will also feed into the wheelhouse of like, okay, so what's next for the product and how are we changing the product? How are we changing the branding? What's working with who and why not? And you'd be surprised too on like new customers that resonate with your product that you didn't even think as a seller that that's who you would be buying what you have. And also the keyword searches, you get a lot more going as a seller there too.
I mean, the way I mark, like if you're the first time buyer of my product, the way I want to speak to you is probably different than the person who has been buying 5 times and maybe stopped for a few months. So I think that this is going to be critical for how sellers like even myself market to customers.
Yeah, and how you keep them coming back or why they stopped coming back.
Exactly.
How they got to you in the first place. That's wild. There's so much. Okay. And another thing I wanted to also talk about is just being a seller and being part of Amazon and what that means and telling your brand story and all of the possibilities that you have with Amazon to be able to reach customers by telling your story. And one of them, I don't know if you caught that on main stage, but it's through the Sellers in Your Community program. What I also think is important about having the opportunity to meet your local representatives as they understand the challenges that you go through and you can potentially be influencing policy and they know what your struggles are. They know the challenges that you face every day as a seller. Which, by the way, if you go to the sellersinyourcommunity.amazon website, there's also so many cool things that team talked about. One of them being like the engagements. There were sellers who were part of a Super Bowl ad. There were sellers who met with their local representative and then they were tapped to go talk about their seller journeys and these like community engagements as well. So I think it was really cool. If you didn't check it out, I invite you to do it.
I think one of the things, just thinking back to something that I started applauding about or that other sellers did when they were in the audience was there was one individual who was talking about all that Amazon does to kind of like protect sellers from like, bad players out there who are trying to attack your listings and people who do fake reviews and stuff. So that was really encouraging to see like the steps that they're actually taking for that. And then the other one was kind of like the evolution of the seller to Amazon customer service experience. Like me as a seller having a customer service issue, like something wrong with my account or I need to change the dimensions on my product. Now I'm going to be able to like open up cases and chat live. I mean, I've always been able to chat live, but now like you're going to have more of an opportunity to just go ahead and finish whatever issue you have live with a representative. And even they had the opportunity, or we're going to have the opportunity as sellers to live screen share like our screen. Like, hey, let me show you, talking to the rep at Amazon, let me show you exactly what issue I'm having with my Seller Central or my listing or something. I can actually share live screen share with a live human being. So everybody was like cheering about that. And then the last one was,
cheered too.
You would have cheered too?
I would have too.
I love it. And then the last one was like, that I think really got a big kick out of the crowd and me was being able to talk directly to specialists about a certain problem. Because, I don't know how it works at behind the scenes at Amazon, but how it seemed like is just like, if I have an issue, I'm probably just talking to somebody who deals with all kinds of issues. But now I guess they're going to do special training for certain specific issues where I'm going to be talking to somebody who only deals with a specific issue. And so that probably means like less time that they have to research on their own. They can probably, I've dealt with this 75 million times. I know exactly how to fix this issue. So I think that's very promising as well.
Specialization makes all the difference when you're talking to people. I mean, just as I'm not a seller, but all of this resonates with me. One, with IT, just always having computer issues, it really helps when you're talking on someone on the phone and they're like, they know they can go in virtually to see what's happening. And then two, customer service, when you're talking to someone and they're like, yes, let me pass you to this other person and let me pass you to this person. And you're like, why? Yeah. What is happening? So all of those things sound really exciting. Anything else that caught your attention?
I loved how they always integrate a lot of seller stories, and that's, the whole basis of your podcast right there.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like we're in our own little worlds and we forget that, that there's people that have all kinds of different stories and different backgrounds who start selling on Amazon. And as consumers, I think people out there don't, they just say, hey, this is from Amazon. No, it's like only 40% of the products you buy on Amazon are actually from Amazon. 60% are from small business owners or private label brands that just come from people with these interesting backgrounds. Like you live on stage were interviewing somebody who used to be a professional football player. I saw that. And now he has a business. And then they what is it called? The community award that people...
Force for Good award winners.
Force for Good. And there was like crazy, wild stories about some of these products. But there was one story that I was like, this is classic. I forgot the name of it already. But a guy had an invention. I don't know if you saw this, but it's like something that keeps your beer can cool while you're fit. And it's like a fishing...
Yes.
Like, so the fishing line is attached to it. And I was like, this guy is doing all this business. I was like, I love it.
It's really important to be able to share their stories. I also really enjoy that about Accelerate, that it's all about sellers. Everything. We work backwards from the seller. We're always telling their story. We're meeting them in person. One of the things I also think is, at least for me, it resonated a lot. I don't know how you felt about this, but learning about how sellers have an impact in their community, where it's not just the product, it's not just the business strategy, but how are they influencing the community landscape? And hearing those stories, I always get goosebumps because it's so much more than just a business. It's so much more than just a product. It's making a difference and influencing. And it's like you wake up every morning with this passion and you hear these entrepreneurs telling their story, being so passionate about what they're talking about that you're almost like, should I be an entrepreneur? Should I work for you? Like I feel so inspired all the time. I think that's also why I love doing this as small business. I love being able to tell their stories, to hear from them, to learn from them. Sometimes I feel like I'm getting an MBA through just listening to business owners every day. I don't know how you feel through Helium 10.
Yeah, it's like the benefit of doing the podcast, I think, is not just, I know we're inspiring people. Not me, like I don't even talk much in my podcast. Like it's the guests, having the guests, being able to provide their stories, it inspires a lot of people. But then I'm listening there and learning the same way that, the audience is actually listening. I think that's like super, super wild. I'm going to throw you a quick curveball. I guess decided this like while you were talking right now. Almost off topic, but I'm going to bring it back to on topic. So you said you haven't sold on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing I remember last year, I was living vicariously through your Instagram, through all your wedding. Like you had an amazing wedding and things like total storybook wedding. It was so awesome.
Thank you.
But I was just thinking, with your experience with all that you did with setting up you had like multiple weddings too. Like I think like I don't know, it seemed like it lasted like 7 days or something. I bet you can think of a product that like a party favor or something that you use for decoration, something that you needed for planning your wedding. But let's take 60 seconds right now. Can you think back to everything that you did at the wedding, and let's see if you can think of a product that from there that you're like, you know what? I bet you anybody who's getting married. I don't have that experience. I've been married twice to the same person. That's a side story. Both times in a courthouse with no like big wedding. So me, I don't know about which is why I was living vicariously through your Instagram. But I don't know much about what would be really good for weddings. So let's make an Amazon product right now.
Okay. I thought of like I didn't have a lot of challenges or issues, but what I will say, one thing that caught my attention, I was like, why haven't we invented something that helps with this, is there is not one friend that's gotten married or myself who didn't go through this, which is your wedding dress. Usually if it has a train, and I know now it's like trendy to have 2 wedding dresses. I just had one. So you're dancing and everything, everyone's stepping on your train. And so you have people trying to help you with your train, or there's like little buttons that you put. It's an intricate thing, but there's little buttons you put. Those buttons always break, inevitably. It never works out. I've never seen somebody whose dress, unless they changed it to a short one, has gotten there. And so there's pictures of I didn't have maids of honor, but like my friends who helped, on their knees, sewing the train, like mid-party, because I couldn't move.
Okay.
And I was like, why is there not something faster to help with this sewing? Like, because you can't, it's a nice wedding dress, so you can't just like staple it.
Yeah, that's either. As a guy, that was like literally the first thing, like,
just staple it. Yeah, like you can't really do that either, because you're ruining the dress. So there has to be a way that like you can still, and it's specifically made for wedding dresses where you can still do that. You can still kind of staple it on, but you don't, ruin the wedding dress. I know there's ways to do it around with the dress, like remove the veil, but that the train, but that costs more money.
All right. So offline, let's think about this more, and let's see if we can get that started. And I already see our Force for Good 2025 winner. Right here. Is that allowed to happen?
Too big for me. You're dreaming too big. I've seen how much work it is to be an entrepreneur. I like my 9 to 5.
Hey, a lot of people have 9 to 5 jobs and they sell on Amazon.
That's
on this
true.
side.
It's crazy. Like when people tell me they started as a side hustle, like Justin, who's on stage, Justin Forsett, who I had the privilege to be able to interview on stage, he started his business as a side hustle while being in the NFL.
Now that's overachieving, I think. Yes.
What? Like what? And not just that, like he started his business and then he started figuring out how to give to his community as well. And so he has 2 other ventures that are just for giving and helping his community. So sure, let's start small. Why not? Let's see what we come up with. But anything else that you liked about Accelerate that you think is important that we
for me, it's just, again, going back to what we originally were talking about, the networking. Helium 10, we had a booth there. And so it was really nice to have everybody come to the booth, and like people that maybe I've talked to on Zoom or done trainings with, and maybe I've kind of known virtually for years, and then to be able to shake their hand and hear their stories. And then the most inspiring is when I hear these stories of people who were inspired by somebody who was on the Serious Sellers podcast, or maybe one of the training things I did is like, you know what, I heard this 4 years ago. I decided, like, we did something called Project X, was like a kind of like a little mini reality TV show about how we found coffin, shelves shaped like coffins, and that became like this big thing. I've sold hundreds of thousands of dollars of shelves. Oh, like a coffin shelf that you can put your books. Even there you go. But I mean, like, I'm not like a gothic or kind of like morbid kind of person, but hey, that's the beauty about selling on Amazon. Here's the thing: it sells throughout the year. So I do not judge what anybody buys at all, especially when they're giving me money. But yeah, like, I totally thought that. I'm like, oh yeah, this is only a Halloween product. But no, throughout the year, people are buying coffin-shaped shelves. And now it's this whole line of coffin and bat-shaped things that I've been selling. But anyways, the very first one, we did like a little case study on it. So people could actually see on YouTube the whole process of how we found the product with Helium 10, and then how we sourced it from China, and then how we launched it, and this and that. And then people still, like, that was years ago. People at this conference came up to me and saying, Bradley, I looked at that Project X and that inspired me, and now I've sold millions of dollars on Amazon, thanks, and they tie it back, to there. And so that's always like super, super kind of like validation. I'm sure you get the same thing too, where people come up to you and it's like, oh yeah, yes, this is why I do what I do. And so that's always great to have at these.
Oh yeah. Every time someone emails me afterwards and they're like, wow, I'm so excited about this episode that came out. Thank you so much for the opportunity to tell my story. I'm like, yes, win. Like it's just being able to tell the stories and helping them out in any way you can, because I think one of the things that they always say, because I'm like, how can we help you? Like, what else can we do? And they're like, this, telling my story, having people hear my story. That is already a huge win. So congrats to us that we have the privilege to speak to these entrepreneurs every day.
Thanks, everybody. And thank you, Andrea. We are doing a special episode right here in Seattle at Amazon Accelerate. Lauren, it's so great to meet you in person.
Thank you for having me here. It's nice to meet you.
Before we get in, I need to know a little bit about you. We were talking just a little bit beforehand. You said you flew in here from Phoenix, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I am born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona. And some of the things I like to do outside of work are lots of trail running and running in general. But yeah, that's where I came in from. A lot hotter than here in Seattle today.
What do you prefer, the heat or the cool?
As I get older, I like the cool. I'm getting less tolerant about the heat, a little bit more cranky about it. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Now I like to ask my guests kind of their journey to e-commerce, how they got to Amazon. So do you study something about e-commerce at all in university or?
Nope. I actually have a background in marketing. That's what I graduated with. And
where did you go?
Arizona State University.
That Sun Devils.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where I started. I went into, after I graduated college, I went to General Dynamics, where I was there for 11 years in marketing and some product management as well. And so like very similar position a lot of our brands are in, where I was crafting branded content and messaging for a lot of our different product lines and working with graphic design teams.
Okay. Now, what's your official position now and what department do you work at?
Yeah. I am a senior product manager with Amazon, and I've been with Amazon for almost 5 years. And I'm currently leading the user experience within the A+ Content Manager for brands on both Seller and Vendor Central.
Okay. Now we're going to get into a little history, but I like giving people a little tease about what's coming. So what's new with A+ Content now?
Yeah, so we've been working on a lot of different things over the past year, incorporating a lot of brand feedback as I have been talking to brands, understanding their different pain points, how they go about creating A+ content. So we've been working on a lot of different features, but the one thing we have been focusing on this past year is Gen AI. Amazon created A+ content to allow brands a way to go into their products and who they are as a brand in a visually compelling place and really elevate who they are as a brand on the detail page. It's their place to showcase who they are. And I have an understanding of just how intensive that process can be, the iteration, the back and forth of the graphic designer. And with the advancements in Gen AI, we're now able to tackle some of that content creation process and help brands through it. And the way we've built the Gen AI feature is to weave in our understanding of how brands are going about creating A+ content and try to help them through that process.
So I think, a lot of people are familiar with A+ content. Some aren't. We're going to get into the history. Like, I don't know if you said you were there 5 years. I remember back in the day, it used to be called Enhanced Brand Content, EBC, and then it changed to A+. Might have been around 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, how do just in general, though, how do brands approach the creation, or how should they approach the creation of A+ content?
Yeah, I've actually heard a lot of them. They start with kind of a wireframing concept. A+ content is a series of modules that get built out and that has images and text. And so there's a lot of different ways brands could choose to build out that A+ content to talk about their product. And it's a free offering for brands to do this. And they will go about the wireframe. They come up with that text. So brainstorming, like, what are the most important key features to focus on for my product? And then they have to go get imagery and put that into a graphical style that represents their brand elements. And so, from that initial brainstorming, the iteration to get to a design that you like and onto the detail page, that's generally how brands go about creating A+ content.
All right. So some might be hearing that. It's like, okay, that sounds like a little bit, a lot to have to do. So like, what is it at its core? Like why it used to be called Enhanced Brand Content. So like that in itself, like tells you a little bit about, what it is.
Yeah. But
like A+ content, like what's the structure of it and why is it important for brands to even use it?
Yeah. I mean, A+ content has been around, I think, since 2012. So, it's quite established and really used a lot by brands. And it's a free tool for brands to use to talk about their product. And they can use the different modules to go into specific features about the product and the benefits of it, really telling the customers why they should buy that product. And, knowing that e-commerce, it's online shopping. So you really want to overcome the purchase barriers of not being able to touch that product and evaluate it in person. And we also provide another feature with Brand Story that allows the brands to elevate their brand presence and go into more about who they are as a brand and not just product, but like who they are as a brand. The benefits of using A+ content is we've seen that high quality A+ content can actually increase sales by up to 20%. So it helps with that conversion as you're engaging with your customers. And then we also have shoppable comparison charts, which have a higher conversion rate, almost 2 times higher than that of not having no shoppable content. So we encourage brands to get into A+ content and use that feature. And then the last piece I think is really important about A+ content is like I said, being able to address common customer concerns. They can't evaluate that product in person. So how do you get them to a place where they feel informed about that purchase decision? And I think A+ content is a great place to do that.
I think it's important that brands understand that, yes, you have to optimize listings for like the Amazon algorithm to be searchable. But at the end of the day, if you have some just like keyword stuff listing, that's not talking really to the direct customer. And A+ content really kind of like, goes through emotional, points and, talks about pain points and things like that. Now, somebody shouldn't just copy the, you might think, hey, I've got images. I got 7 images. I've got bullet points. Now, why can't I just go ahead and copy those images and copy those bullet points right to my A+ content? Is that not a correct strategy to do?
Yeah, I mean, brands do reuse content because, again, they're trying to get all of this information in front of their customers on the detail page in the most efficient way possible. But A+ content allows brands to craft that messaging and have that imagery that's representative of their brand. And this is a space on the detail page that's essentially theirs to talk to their customers and further engage with their customers. And, the customers might be looking at bullet points or some of the imagery higher up, but if they're on the fence about a purchase decision on your product, you can go in and it's what's in it for me that we want the brands to get at. So, you can showcase different aspects of your product. We've got different modules to use, and, we see brands, they might focus on a key feature of one aspect of their product, and then they'll go to the next module and focus on a different key feature. And that way, you can provide some close-ups of the product and go into some of the finer details, and all within the brand look and feel. And I think that's the nice thing. It's being able to bring your brand presence to the detail page.
Now, one thing in the last year or two that was opened up to more brands is premium A+ content. In the past, I believe that was gated to larger brands. Can you talk a little bit about the difference between regular A+ content and then the premium A+ content?
Yeah, so originally it was premium A+ content was just available to our retail vendors. And in October 2022, we opened it up to our selling partners on Seller Central. And the difference between the two, basic A+ is our free kind of main offering, whereas premium A+ is a gated offering, and it requires some criteria to get to it. And it just ensures that, brands really understand our tool and they're creating high quality A+ content. And once we're there, the premium A+ offers some more advanced modules, interactive hotspots, some of the navigation carousels, Q&A modules, which are great. But they're both meant to be product specific. So basic A+ and premium A+ are what I call our product specific A+ content, where it allows brands to go deeper into their product details with text, image in a cohesive way that represents their brand. And, again, try to educate the customers, build trust there that, they're buying the correct product, which ultimately encourages repeat purchases.
And I mentioned that there's criteria to qualify for premium A+ content. What is that?
Yeah, so to qualify, we just ask that you have done 5 basic A+ content projects. So again, getting familiar with our tool, understanding how to create that quality content, and then brand story across the brand's catalog. And that, is meant to be high level and really kind of bring the consistency across your brand catalog.
Brand story. That's something that I think a lot of people might fully understand A+ content, or maybe those who are new might not. But then the one that even experienced sellers might be sleeping on is that brand story.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, brand story is actually my favorite A+ content. It allows brands to go into more about who they are as a brand. Allows them to share their vision, their mission. It links to the Amazon store, their Amazon store. It also allows them to share their different products across their brand. And it's meant to go across their brand catalog. So where basic A+ and premium A+ are product feature focused, brand story is that brand level and meant to go across the catalog and used in conjunction with basic A+ and premium A+. So as a brand, you now have your brand level content and then your product level content, and really maximizing that space on the detail page. But I like it, I think, because it's so brand focused, and I've seen brands just use it in great ways that's very visually compelling.
So then A+ content, that is specific to an ASIN. But now the brand story, does that automatically go to all of my ASINs under a brand, or I pick and choose which listings it shows up on? How does that work?
Yeah, so it's going to be across your brand catalog. And so, you have to own all the ASINs associated with that in your brand. And it doesn't get automatically applied. Brands do have to be cognizant about, what ASINs they're putting on brand story. But it is meant to allow them to put that brand level content across all of the ASINs that, they own and that they're selling.
Okay. Another thing you mentioned there that's semi-new, I think, for a lot of sellers, is the shoppable A+ content. Now, first of all, is that available in the basic A+ content, or is it only available in the premium? And then can you talk a little bit about it?
Yeah. So last year, we announced the shoppable A+ content in Premium and Accelerate. And it was something that brands have been asking for a while. You know, they want the A+ content shoppable. And this past year, we did extend it to Basic A+. So now the shoppable comparison charts are available in both Premium and Basic A+. And what it does is, you know, your typical comparison charts, now you have an add to cart function. So your customers can, as they're viewing your A+ content and your comparison charts, they can add to cart right from there. And it shows pricing information, customer reviews, along with different product attributes. And the brands control all of this. They only show their products within their catalog for customers to compare. And so it can be a great way to educate customers on what else you have to offer that might better suit their needs. So you might have a latest revision or even a higher value offering. So some of that upsell that allows them to kind of compare details of your products. And instead of navigating away from your detail page, if they decide they like a different product in your catalog better, they can add to cart right from there, from the comparison chart.
Another benefit of that, I think, is, you know, like I'm going to be talking to some in Amazon advertising. Maybe they might not want to hear me say this, but there's no cost per click, right? I think it's important. I think it's important to do Amazon advertising, even what I call defensive ads on your own listing, because hey, you want to maybe push some of the brands, you know, to go down the page. Yeah. And so to me, it's absolutely worth it. I'll pay the cost per click if it means that I get to sell my own product and not another brand. But then this is even better than that, because now in addition to that, I'm taking up real estate on my page, and I'm not having to pay any extra for somebody to go that. So I think that's a no-brainer to do. Now, at the beginning, you kind of tease some stuff. You use that buzzword AI, right? And then, you know, for all of us who are selling on Amazon, we might be like, wait a minute, I haven't seen anything AI related that's an A+ content. So what is this built on? Like, what's this new feature that we're launching?
Yeah, so I mean, Amazon as a whole has been working on a lot of Gen AI to help brands with all the selling tools that are offered to help brands be successful in the Amazon store. And I know, and I hear from brands that there's just so much Amazon offers that sometimes, you know, they don't know where to start, or they're trying to get through all of this. And so Gen AI, I think, is a great place for a lot of products within Amazon to help kind of reduce some of that burden on brands. And so the same thing with A+ content is, we're trying to use Gen AI to reduce the content creation process. And we have been developing our Gen AI in-house. We're leveraging text and image models that were developed in-house. And even the text model or the image models, some of these are kind of readily available on Amazon's Bedrock.
Okay. Now, for me, you know, I own a few brands on Amazon, and I've been selling on Amazon for years. And unfortunately, I'll admit I haven't put A+ content in all of my listings. But the thing that usually is my drawback is I'm not a graphic designer, so I have to outsource my graphics and things like that. And sometimes I'm like, I'm not sure if this is worth it or not, because maybe the agency I'm using is charging a lot. So that's what's held me back. So to me, that's like the first benefit of like, hey, maybe I don't have to go pay $500 to get some custom images done for my A+ content. But can you talk a little bit more about that, and then some of the other benefits of how AI can help with this process?
Yeah, so I mean, we know that not all of our brands have huge marketing budgets or agencies to craft this content. In my previous experience, I did have the budget to go and create content, and it was still brainstorming. I had a great graphic designer, and we would go back and forth. And then you have to, get the approvals and everything like that. So we're constantly kind of looking for ways to reduce that. And I know that brands, when they speak to us, they do, they prioritize their A+ content on kind of their best-selling ASINs. And we're hoping that with Gen AI, we can help kind of tackle some of the churn in the creative process or the cost, such that brands can put A+ content on more of their listings and realize the benefits of A+ content sooner. So we're trying to kind of kickstart some of the copywriting, or provide that graphic design to brands who like to use that.
Okay, excellent. Now, for this AI-driven A+ content, like, is this going to become mandatory now that you have to use this AI, or can sellers opt in and out, et cetera?
Yeah, we always want brands to stay in control of the content they're creating. And we just want to provide them some of these creative options. And so they don't have to use the AI tool. It's an option. It's there for them to use it if they want to use it. They're the ones that they're in the driver's seat on what content they create, what content they publish to the detail page.
Now, Amazon advertising, I think, was one of the first departments to leverage AI-generated images. And actually, us at Helium 10 with our Atomic tool, we were in the beta program, we actually were able to integrate that into Helium 10. And then how it worked was, hey, I can put like a white background image of maybe my main product, and then there would be a prompt that I would say, hey, put this in the background of this and that, and then it would generate the image. Is that kind of like the direction that this AI, this tool will work? Like, what do I need to feed the AI, and then what else do I need to tell in order to get back some good results?
Yeah, so we're actually a very similar experience to ads. We're leveraging the same image models, and we try to make this as simple as possible, where all you have to do is provide your ASIN, your brand-owned ASIN, and then we will generate both text and image based on that listing information. So we're taking the information from the listing to generate text, and then we're taking that same information from the listing to come up with an image. And we use product shots on white backgrounds as well. That's what we recommend. It works best. And it just kind of puts it on like a graphically, pleasing background.
When you say text and image, obviously I think the image, speaks for itself. But can you put, and if not, will that be a future iteration? Can you put text on the image, like making an infographic? Or when you say text, you're talking about like the captions and things like that go in A+ content?
Yeah, so the A+ content, is built out with a series of modules, and those modules are comprised of image and then some text fields. So it's got like title, body that they can put text in, and our Gen AI feature basically fills out that information for you. So when you go and you put your ASIN, you can provide additional information too. We do allow for some custom prompting, but if all you wanted to do was start out with let's see how this feature works, just go and you put your ASIN and allow the content to generate, and it will spit out essentially text in those text fields, and then that image with your product shot in it.
Okay. How would you compare this AI tool with other maybe image AI tools that are out there?
Yeah, I mean, images, it's complex to try to get right. In our solution, as we were building it, we realized kind of early on that, we're not just building text, we're not just building image, we're building both text and image that have to go together, and they have to be cohesive and make sense. And, text is kind of the easier one to get right. The imagery is a little bit more complex.
Like three hands,
yeah,
7 fingers on each hand.
Yeah, so like it definitely has its quirks. You might have an object floating in space, and it's something that we're working on to continuously refine. And, even in the past 6 months that, we've been kind of testing out this feature, I've seen the image quality improve in the Gen AI models. So we're constantly working on it and trying to refine it such that we can get to a point where it's very similar to working in like a photo editing tool, and you put your product shot in and you got some nice background. And the thing with the product shots too is, we always want to maintain the integrity of the product shot itself. So with images, we're never trying to replicate the product shot or create it in its likeness. We want customers to trust that this is the product that they're looking at. We're just trying to help with some of the graphic content with A+ content.
And one thing you mentioned just now registered with me was going back to the advertising tool, I always had to upload an image first. But are you saying with this one, I can just upload the ASIN without even uploading an image, and it's going to go ahead and scan my images, scan my copy, and then generate content based on that?
So what it does is it actually pulls images from the media block that you've already uploaded, and it will pull it in, and you have options to select from. So if you have multiple product shots, you can choose from multiple product shots. You can go into, we have the concept of an asset library with an A+ content. So typically when brands are creating A+ content, they have an asset library that they've already uploaded images to. And it might be images that are not necessarily in the media block, but that's what we're allowing for, is the product shots to be chosen, and then we will kind of synthesize information about the listing to make some graphics that go along with the theme of that product. And we also actually allow brands to use kind of what we call lifestyle imagery. So if they wanted a little bit more versatility or diversity within their modules, they can toggle off the product shot image and just allow the images to create some imagery that doesn't have a product shot.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's important, because I think as AI gets better, that it's really going to speak to customers more, because, we've all seen those kind of photo chopped, images that they're not even to scale. And it's like, it just, for me as a buyer, as a consumer, when I see a listing like that, it's like, I'm kind of, the product might be great, but I'm like, I might not even end up buying it because just that listing just turns me off. I'm like, well, if this brand can't even make a professional listing, like, how can I trust that the product is going to be good? So I think as the, utilizing this kind of imagery is going to be a lot better. Now, you're in charge of all of like A+ content, not just this AI part. So just last words of wisdom, maybe regardless if somebody's going to go ahead and use this AI generation or they're just going to do the regular premium or basic A+ content? What's some words of advice, words of wisdom you can give our brands out there?
Yeah, so if you're just starting out with A+ content, or just you want to go and explore the feature and you don't have all of the assets in place, I would recommend actually taking a few product shots of your product and different angles on a white background. And I don't think you have to have professional photography or anything like that. A lot of our smartphones have really great resolution. So you could really kind of DIY it and of course make sure the product shots are high resolution. And then go into the A+ content manager and like I said, build out modules that focus on a different key feature and a different product shot. So if you're using the AI tool, you go in, you add a module, and then you put that ASIN in, and you can custom prompt the text. So my recommendation would be that you put in like the first key feature and choose your first product shot. Allow that to generate, go into the next module, choose a different key feature to focus on, a different product shot. And of course, explore that lifestyle imagery and maybe, put that in between different modules and build out the A+ content that way. But, whether you're using Gen AI or not, the importance of A+ content is to show, the features and the benefits, what it is and then what it does for customers. And really remember that, again, this is things that people are buying online. They want to know that they're going to get the product that they're expecting to get. And so really try to make sure that you're addressing any sort of customer concerns and highlighting your product such that customers understand that they're going to get something. And then when they get something that they like, it's ultimately trust building in that brand, and they're going to go back and buy from that brand.
So everybody out there, all you brands, make sure you are not like me and using A+ content only for some of your listings. Make sure to use A+ content, premium A+ content if you have access to it, for all of your listings. Put brand story there. Make sure you are leveraging the shoppability of A+ content. And lastly, utilize Gen AI that is now going to be involved in A+ content generation. For those of you who might need some inspiration for creativity, or maybe your budgets aren't that big where you can go and hire a big fancy design agency to make your A+ content, Amazon has now made it accessible for everybody out there. So I hope everybody leverages all these new tools from Amazon. Next year, I look forward to what new and exciting things you're going to bring to it.
Absolutely. Thank you.